Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, allow me to be a bit vulnerable with you guys. So, in continuation with the video that I did previously, where I spoke about how to get out of debt. So, if you're over indebted, what are the different ways that I have implemented that maybe you can use to actually get yourself or dig yourself out of the debt trap that perhaps you find yourself in, right? So today I just want to share the realities that come with being over indebted. So I will share some realities that I have faced. I'm going to be a bit vulnerable. It's not stuff that I like sharing, but I'm hoping that it will help the next person. So I encourage you to either stay debt free or at least live within your means, because it can be crazy, or live comfortably. So be at a place where even if you have certain debts that you might have taken up, you're still able to get through your day to day, but more so to save, especially for emergencies. So we're probably going back to the emergency conversation, but let me share with you, then maybe you'll kind of get where I'm going in encouraging you to stay debt free, or to at least chop off some of those debts so that you can get to a place where you live comfortably. So I'll share a story about my car, especially because that was the biggest thing that highlighted the issue of debt in my life at some point. It was the car. The car showed flames because that's when you realize, oh no, I'm not able to do one to empty. So I shared a little bit about fuel. When you get to a time where in the month you find that, listen, you really don't have the funds to fuel the car that needs to get you to work. And at the time, just to paint it for you, right? At the time, I stayed in the south, Omonde area, and I worked in Bryanston. So imagine that distance, and you have to fuel this car that needs to get you there. Chances are I'll be stuck in traffic because the N1 is not here to play with anyone. I'd be stuck in traffic unless I left like extremely early, and coming back again, you get stuck in traffic. So that was the reality, and therefore fuel was costly. Honestly, I didn't know exactly how much the full tank was. Yeah, at the time I wasn't tracking how much I was spending on fuel. So I don't really have a exact to say this is how much I was spending on fuel. But at some point when I continuously took on debt, I came to a point where literally fueling the car was a mission. I think I reached a point where it was no longer a full tank. It was either a young 300 or 100 rand just to get to work and back. So that was the life that had the reality that I found myself in at the time. So it was fuel. And then with the birth of my son, of course, then what happened was I'd have to drive from the south, dropping off at my parents' place. At the time, my mom was running a nursery school, so I opted for that option instead of taking him to any other school. So when he turned 4 months, of course, or three months and a bit, because obviously he has to go back to work, then it was from the south, taking him to school, and then and then Bryanston. So you understand that the commute was a lot. Therefore, your fuel was a thing. So when I shared a story a little bit of a time where I literally had nothing in the car. The light was on. I think I left the house in the south when the light was on, dropped off my little one, and then praying that still with the lights on, I would be able to get to Bryanston. And I think somewhere towards when you're approaching Hartonside, I got stuck. Luckily, I got stuck at like a steep hill where behind, I had left behind a garage. I think some guy was out on a run and got worried, like, why are you stuck at a place where it's not exactly safe? Like, why did you stop? So I'm like, I've run out of fuel. All right. So it's like, all right, let me help you push the car down. At least we're at a downhill. Let me help you push the car down. Push the car. We get to the garage. He's like, you can buy fuel, right? So you buy a little bit of fuel and then it will get you to work. And I tell him, like, I actually don't have money for fuel. He's like, in your card or anything? I'm like, I don't have money for fuel. Like, and shame, I think he had 50 Rand in his pocket, took out 50 Rand, put in, he got like a container, put fuel in there, and then they put it in the car. And I'm like, please, can I have your number so that when I have the money, I can send you the money. He's like, no, 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 don't worry. You'll help someone else at some point. I'm like, sure, thank you. Like, I was profusely thankful because honestly, without that help or without that, I would not have gotten to work because honestly, I had run out of options because I was at a place where literally I had to ask around for money. And I think I'd reached out to a number of people that morning and like nothing came of it. So that's the reality of being over indebted. I mean, that was an emergency at the time. Honestly, okay, fuel is not an emergency. Maybe it's like your day to day part of your budget. But honestly, I was, like I said, over indebted. That means your budget is off. You probably don't have enough for your day to day. So that's one example. And then, okay, that's one example of the car situation. But like I said, I'm just going to stick to the car. Then, I don't remember when exactly, but in the midst of me being over indebted, I think my husband was out driving the one time, and then one of the tires burst, and then I'm not sure what happened because I was not in the car, but because the tire burst, I think it then swerved off or something, but it kind of got hit at the bumper area, basically, with a burst tire. Thankfully, I had never cancelled insurance. Even in that state, I'd never cancelled insurance. So I was able to get insurance to cover. But the insurance that I had taken was not the greatest option. At the time when I took out the insurance, it was a cheaper option, but the excess amount was crazy. So the excess amount was something out of this world. I think it was percentage based, and therefore, because of that, they covered the costs up to a certain point. And I think, sure, if I'm not mistaken, the amount that remained was in the ranges of 10,000 plus. Now imagine I'm over indebted. I cannot take on any further loans. My credit score is just out. I think I had already been on debt review at the time, which means I cannot access any credit. Like, tell me what you do in that case. Like, like I said, if you can stay out of debt, please. Anyway, the car goes in, it gets fixed, and there's this amount that remains. And I think for a long time the car stood at the dealership where it was fixed. I don't remember where I fixed it. I think I took it back where I bought it or something like that. But just know that it stood there. They were even calling, threatening about storage, that they will charge more for storage and so forth and so forth. And honestly, I had no plan. And I think I reached out to a good friend of mine when eventually I was like, I reached out to a couple of people. I don't remember who or how, but somehow someone that we reached out to assisted with the funds to release the car. So got that, and imagine this: you're over indebted already. You are sitting on a minus already, and now you're bringing in an additional loan, so to speak, because this person was not giving us the money. The money was gonna be returned somehow. I don't know how, but somehow that money had to be returned. So anyway, we released the car through that help, and then good to go. And I speak of the car because there are many things that happened that led, like that, bring me to this point where I'm saying, as much as you can, stay out of debt, or at least chop a lot out of your debt in order for you to be at a place where you can save for emergencies, because an accident can happen. Unfortunately, I chosen the incorrect vehicle for insurance, and now I'm sitting with money that needs to be paid. Had I saved for emergencies, you know, it would be a different story. Another another thing about the car again. So I don't remember what happened this time, but the car did get into another small accident. But obviously, small accidents mean big money and whatever else. No, no, no. I'm mixing my stories. So the first time it sat at the actual dealership was because there was water leaking underneath. Yes, that's why. There was water leaking underneath, and I think I think I think it had scraped somewhere, but there was water leaking underneath. That's why it sat at the dealership. And then the next time that something happened, it was because of a tire burst. And this time it actually didn't sit at the dealership. It sat at a panel beater, not to in the south area, which obviously was chosen by insurance. And then they did a whole thing, and the car looked really nice. It looked nice and new. They fixed everything, but it sat there for a long time. And I think they felt sorry for me at some point because of the fact that I'd had a child not too long ago, stuff like that. So actually, I'm also mixing the stories. The petrol thing happened probably after the panel beater situation, but you get my drift, right? Anyway, so at that time, yes, at that time when it was at the panel beater, I think a good friend of mine, a friend, sure, I'll forever be grateful to her. She helped me out with the amount. I think again, it was sitting at around the 10,000 plus range. Because, like I said, I didn't change the insurer because at the time I'm over indebted, and I think all the other insurance were charging a lot at the time. And I think after this last incident where it sat at the panel beater, that's when I was then able to change insurance. Probably because I was not yet under debt review. I'm so sorry. I'm mixing all the stories, but I was over indebted and I could not take on any further loans. My credit score was out. So it was probably because I was not yet on debt review. I was able to change insurer to a very decent insurance in terms of cost, and also the access that they charge was much better. It was not percentage based. So after the whole panel beater situation, I was able to take out the car. I took out another insurer, changed it completely, and was able to pay much better. Then fast forward, I moved from a job in Bryanston to a job in Rosebank. So now I changed jobs. I was working in Rosebank. Also, at the time when I changed jobs, I was actually now under debt review. I think, sure, so confused, but I think I was on debt review, and we also had I also had a bad mark or bad credit thingy against rent, because even rent was struggling at the time. So you understand that there's so much. And I had to declare where I was going, to tell them, because your finances matter even when you're finding a job. Just know that. So if all else that I'm saying doesn't encourage you to either stay out of debt or manage your debt better, just know that when you are looking for a job, your financial standing also kind of matters. They do look into your finances, and if you're not moving into sort of a finance role, you might get into another company with that chance because of that. But obviously declare that, listen, this happened with, because I remember, obviously I was using a recruiter, and then I had to let them know that no, the only thing that might be alarming is the fact that rental wise at some points I paid late and whatever, and they declared it as well to the company that I moved to. So if not for what I've said right now, do it for the fact that you might want to change jobs, and maybe you wanna move into the financial sector, especially. So just keep your debts at bay, manage them better. Nonetheless, I had moved to a job in Rosebank from Bryanston, which was much closer in terms of being able to drive the little one and then go to work. So it was much closer, much manageable, but still fuel, as we know, fuel always goes up. So fuel was still a contagious issue. So this time I'm continuing my studies. I'm going into classes twice a week. If I'm not mistaken, twice a week, I was going into classes. And this particular week, I'm going into class. I think I went in on a Wednesday because I had to go in to finish up one of my assignments that I couldn't do at home. I think I needed to connect to the network or something. It was something to do with networking that kind of didn't, like, it wasn't as easy as researching and just writing. So I needed to be in class just to question the lecturer, or at least get things going. And I actually did well by doing that, because in the next week it was actually due, and I think I had mixed up the due date. Anyway, that's besides the point. I had gone in to do an assignment, and then I'm coming back. Now, coming back, the joys of the fact that I was dropping my son off at my family was that I was able to fetch him later if I needed to. So that's a period in my life that I'm really grateful for, because I was able to fetch him later if I needed to be in class, unlike a traditional school where at a certain time you need to collect them, even if you've got engagements, right? Again, besides the point, I'm digressing a bit. Going to class, do what I need to do, and then I leave. Now I'm going to fetch my little one. After fetching my little one, I was gonna head home. I am driving in a road, same street where my parents live, but like I was still further down. I'm driving, and I'm a person, those who know me know that I drive like slow. Like, I'm not someone who will drive 80 on a 60 zone, for example. Like, I'm really, really chill driver, if I have to say so myself. So anyway, I'm driving and slowing down, especially stop streets, you slow down a bit. So this time around, I'm driving, and then all of a sudden, a car that was parked, like I'm literally right next to the car, it was just parked. And then next thing, the car just goes in, and I try to swerve away, but as I swerve away, that car sort of touches me behind, and I end up hitting into another car that was stationary, because, yeah. And so again, my car. And man, yeah, that was crazy. Airbags out. Thankfully, I didn't have my little one because I was on the way to fetch him. And the car that caused the accident, obviously, people, they run away. He disappeared. I think at some point they had found him, but thankfully, as I was in this whole scene, firstly, I don't know why or how, I struggled to open the driver door. So the car in front was damaged, airbags out. I struggled to open the driver door, and I was now panicking because what if it burst into flame or something? Like, I was just thinking the worst. But anyway, someone from the outside opened for me, and thankfully someone reminded me, like, lock your car, because generally accident scenes, people think it's time to steal and whatever. Locked my car, step out, and then obviously now I'm faced with answering to these people who were sitting in a stationary car, and I don't know the person who bumped into me. So I explained and I explained and I explained, and poor lady was in there, says her neck is sore and whatever. Anyway, the ambulance comes, and they didn't care about me. They attended to the people who were in the other car. So I think it was a child and a mom. Explained to them, I profusely apologized, but like hours. And then there was a guy, Shame, who was thankfully speaking on my behalf as well, letting them know, listen, I saw everything happen. He even said, yeah, take my number so that you tell the insurance. And yeah, I was able to tell the insurance. They paid out. They paid it all out, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think they paid out oh yes. So they paid everything out in terms of what they could cover. And then I think there was just a little amount left, which I then still continued paying as if I had the car. But now I'm over indebted. I'm under debt review, which means for that time I had to take a break from finding or looking for a car or trying to purchase a car. So that that was the biggest one, because now you cannot purchase a car, you're over indebted, your credit score is out. More than that, you're sitting under debt review, which means you cannot take on a car. I always say to a friend or someone that I speak to about this experience, I always say, you know what, in South Africa, you probably could get out of it, or find a way to get a car. But I had to be honest with where I was. I had to acknowledge the fact that if I were to take on a car debt by some reason or by some way, it would not have served me well, you know? So I had to acknowledge that, and then just sit in the reality that you were over indebted. You had to go into debt review. You cannot now take on another debt. Just pay off as you have been, pay off what you can, and live in that, like live with it at that point. So yeah, so at that time that's what happened. And I remember I was driving Mr. D at the time to make an additional income. So that additional income fell away because no more car. Even in the midst of that, before I even lost the car was now having issues, because obviously you're driving in around a lot. And since after the time it started leaking water, I just had different issues, you know. So, but yeah, so that's the reality that you sit in when you are way over indebted. So I hope you are encouraged to really, like, as much as possible, stay away from debt. As much as possible, manage the debt that you have now. As much as possible, save for emergencies. Save for those unexpected moments, because we do not know what will happen. We don't know. Like, I could never have known that, or car issues or whatever. And thankfully, a colleague at the time was driving towards the area of my school. He assisted me with driving me to school on days that I needed to go to school. And then I think I would Uber home to get my little one, and then either Uber home, or maybe my parents would help me out with getting me home. So things kind of worked out even in the midst of all of that. But more than anything, it's more convenient to have your own car. It's more convenient to drive your own car. So I hope you're encouraged to manage the debts that you have. If you can pay more, pay more. I hope you're encouraged to either work your way out of debt if you are over indebted already. I hope you're encouraged to manage the debts that you currently have. If you're still managing it, manage it well, pay extra if you can, and get out of those that you can. I hope you're encouraged to, and know that you can get out of debt. I have been able to get out of being over indebted, debt review, and come out of it. So I hope you're encouraged to know that you will be able to get out of it. But it takes acknowledging where you are, planning for it, budgeting, and literally putting in the little bit of extras that you can towards your debt in order to get out of it. So yeah, uh, thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable and share some stories that happened to me because of being over indebted and how I could not fend myself from it because of that. But I really hope that it has encouraged you or is at least steering you in the right direction when it comes to getting out of debt, or at least staying within your means or living within your means. So please do follow, like, share, and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. It's helpful to the channel. But more than anything, I hope this is helpful to you. If you know of anyone either very over indebted or someone who is working their way out of certain debts that are kind of crippling them, please do share it with them. And sure, see you on the next one. Bye.